Hi there everyone, welcome. We're here with the New Moon in Virgo series readings. Let's get into it here. Welcome to the channel Alchemy and You. We are reading with the tarot cards, but we're also channeling. It's sort of like oracle work, divination, but via various senses. So I'm clairaudient, clairsentient, and so on. And so there are different ways that I'm working with the energy here. So I want you to know that, because sometimes when we get into the reading, it can get kind of, at times the energy moves quickly. Sometimes the energy gets sort of intense. So yeah, feel free to actually slow the video down if you feel guided to. And whatever you feel, ultimately, it's important to connect with the message and see how it is that you feel with what's coming through, if you find that you resonate with it. So let's get into it. Thank you for tuning in, Virgo. Those of you who are longtime viewers, thank you for tuning in again. And those of you who are new time viewers, thank you guys for tuning into you here. We're going to pull a Celtic cross spread here, which is going to be a card for the deep past, a card for the recent past, a card for the advice, position, near future, energetic pathway, hopes and fears, and the final outcome. We'll pull some other cards as well in addition to that. For example, the environmental sort of position. If any sort of energies are playing a particularly important role, that will usually come through in the environmental sort of position. Side note, but let's see. Well, of course, again, just going to feel the energy. Sometimes I see things, I hear things, I taste things, so I'm going to communicate that to you. Let's get into it here. In the meantime, we'll also mention that, the new moon is typically a time where things become really sort of clear. It's not necessarily always easy to handle what does come through at a new moon, but it is at least honest. It is really sort of sometimes intensely felt, but it is, as you might feel it, you with your higher self, important. So what does come through at the new moon is typically something that you connect on a personal level with. It's usually, let's say, an epiphany, something that you have been sort of feeling on some scale or another, in, let's say, the so-called back of your mind, but at the new moon it comes to the fore more so. But again, this is a more personal sort of epiphany space we're talking about. Not so much I'm actualizing this in a public sense, although it can be, and it always will come down to your personal birth chart. So let's get into it further. When we're looking at the new moon in Virgo specifically, of course, we're looking at sixth house energies, we're looking at Mercury, we're looking at earth energy, but via the axis of air as well, because Virgo is one of those interesting signs in that it does sort of hold the frequency of both air and earth, because it's ruled by Mercury, which is an air-based planet primarily, and it does co-rule Mercury, a Gemini. All right, here we are right there, the strength card upside down. Okay. Important to note that, this is a time where things related to how it is that you also perceive of what you manifest may come up in a really big way. Let me sort of set this so that you can actually see the cards as they come through. And thank you guys again for your support, your likes, and so on. Let's clear the energy. Some of you are moving. I see this. Ace of Pentacles coming through upright. Some of you have already moved. Yeah, some of you have already made a move in a big way. Some of you have pushed something out of your space. I'm hearing it in this way. It can be actually, let's say, physically moving things like furniture, for example. King of Pentacles upright, Father of Pentacles, King of Pentacles, depending on what deck you use. By the way, this is the Gummy Bear Tarot deck, and yeah, it's very similar to the Rider-Waite, but there are depictions of gummy bears instead of humans, humanoids. Seven of Pentacles upright. Yeah, some of you you've connected, I'll say as well, more deeply with something. Definitely Six of Cups upright. I feel like a number of you have realized that there is something so deep and meaningful here, and I see you as kind of putting it on a pedestal of sorts, saying that means a whole lot to me, and I don't want to set that to the side. I want it to be a priority. I want to really underline that, whatever that is for you. The Knight of Cups on the Six of Cups, this can be someone who you feel, some way about. You feel a lot for. I'm hearing that as well. Yeah, no, some of you Virgo, you're in love. I'm seeing this Knight of Wands, Judgment, and that's sitting right on that Knight of Cups. And you got the Nine of Cups. King of Cups in reverse with the Magician upright. Wow. Yeah, I was wondering. I was just waiting for the Magician to come through. Yeah, some of you definitely have... Again, there's a move here on the table for some of you, for sure. Coming up, I'm hearing this soon, but of course, you create your reality, so it does come down to how you're manifesting these energies, but let's clear the energy ground, and yeah, I recommend to come back to readings about 6 months down the line, especially given that this is a new moon reading. So, yeah, the new moon tends to culminate in 6 month spurts, with the full moon corresponding to that new moon 6 months down the line. The Three of Pentacles upright, mirroring the Magician upright. Some of you, I see are in love with someone. Yeah, I know. In this, when we say someone, right? What are people at the end of the day? We are frequency. We are energy. So when we're talking about someone or something, we're talking about the energy that space embodies. It doesn't have to be a person. We can create cords to different things, right? So, you know, if it is someone, okay, it can be someone, but it's ultimately the energy, right? It's not like I'm in love with that physical object over there. I think it could be, but it's an interaction. It's a relationship that's taking place also first on an energetic plane. All physical matter is preceded by energy. So if at the end of the day, let's say it like this as well, let's say you're already in a relationship with somebody, and let's say you're having some trouble there with that connection, there's usually something that is taking place on an energy plane. And if you are having trouble with someone, I would typically look at what is the energy that's coming up in this connection. I would look at your synastry. I would look at the archetypes. I would look at the frequencies. You might, for example, be having a trigger of a shadow that is related to the archetype of Pluto, for example. And typically when you're having trouble with someone, that's usually what's coming through. Now, for some of you, that might have actually, well, I see this as a very high vibration with the Six of Cups and the Knight of Cups. I see some of you here realize that this is important to you. This is a frequency that you, for a number of you, I'm hearing, you realize you want in your life. You don't want to sacrifice this. Like, this is something very special. Yeah, the Sun and Star in reverse. Looking at that Knight of Cups, some of you feel like, let's clear it. This is meant to be, even as you feel it. Let's clear it. And this is a general video, by the way, right? So always take it as you will. And I want to also mention, when we're reading, we're not here to feed the ego. That's not what the readings are here for. They are to illuminate where it is that you rely on the ego. And so that's important to note as well. So if you're watching a reading with the outset of, I want to feed my ego and make sure that this is the story that's going to make my ego feel comfortable, the messages are probably not going to span in the way that you would like. Sometimes we feel on edge with the ego space, and that's normal, that's natural, but I would meditate before you get into reading. Otherwise, you may not resonate with the energy that does come through, or it may not be inspiring to you, or as inspiring as it could be. So really meditate on frequencies before it is because this is a sacred space as well, and the reason for why the messages come through, it's important for it to be aligned with your higher self so that you can derive the most out of a reading. Sometimes we can read a reading and watch a reading even as the reader, I'm like, oh, I think that relates to that. And it ends up being something completely so-called different. And it's interesting how over time it may manifest in different ways. So, even to say it in this way, I would have an open mind when you're watching readings and not really wanting a very particular outcome, like, you know what I'm saying, not needing to have a certain outcome and wanting to validate that, because that's a fear space and the readings don't feed the fear space. So I want to sort of illuminate that here for you. With the Six of Cups and the Knight of Cups, though, we are talking about some space that is in resonance in some way, and we have noticed that, we've realized that. Some of you, this is a very, very, very key soulmate connection, and you maybe just kind of see it in a new way, or you're ready to pursue it. I also want to mention, right, that the way that you work with the messages over time can change and it can transform, and so there might be different ways in which you connect to the content over time. So Magician and the Lovers, let's clear the energy. Yeah, there are different ways in which you might resonate with a reading over time. The Fool and the King of Swords. So yeah, like for example, I'll give an example. Like I find that sometimes a message will come through and I'll be like, wow, in that particular month that the reading is completed, I'll be like, wow, you know what, that is so me, like psychologically, intellectually, so called, and then another month will come through and I'll just watch that reading again. I'll be like, that is me physically right now. So yeah, or emotionally. So always take it as you will. But Two of Cups upright, some of you here have something that you realize is your story, and it can actually be, For some of you, I feel this is something that you're connecting to a person even. It can be a reunion. I want to pull a long-term spread, and we'll get into that Celtic cross as well. Thank you again, Virgo, for tuning in. And if you find it resonating with these messages, feel free to hit the like button. The like actually is quite so-called important to YouTube. YouTube looks at the likes, and that's how they know which readings to pump out, which readings to, push out to prospective viewers. So if you're liking the content and you want to help it sort of reach other viewers as well, who are not yet familiar with even astrology or whatnot, then feel free to hit the like button, and that goes for any video that you like on YouTube, right? Just note that it does tell YouTube, hey, I want you to look at this video and push it out. So just a side note. Some of you have a history in this space. Some of you dealing with a Virgo. I'm hearing you could be a cross watcher. Some of you dealing with a Pisces. Wow, star. Those of you dealing with a Pisces, let's clear the energy on the right side of the body. You've got karma here definitely involved in this connection. No question, no doubt about that. There has been a history here. There will be a history. And some of you are dealing with controversial energies in relation to this space. And you have been. For those of you who identify someone here, and again, this is a general video, those of you who identify a soulmate connection here with the Hangman in reverse in such a way where you both actively are in a space of resonance to some level and some degree. I'm not talking about people who have told you, please fuck off. I'm not talking about those like people who have literally put up boundaries and very clear barriers, like maybe they have a restraining order. We're not talking about that kind of situation where you're like, but I know they're like my twin flame. We're not talking about that situation, you guys. Love and light, but we're talking about a space where you understand that there is some sort of application of your gifts and their gifts together, where you create something of a high vibrational sort of value to the collective. That's what we're talking about here. Those kinds of connections. And if you've been feeling, well, it's just not manifesting for whatever reason. What I'm getting is that there is a karmic reason for this with the Seven of Swords upright and the Hangman in reverse and the Lovers in reverse. There is some kind of soulmate contract here that maybe is involving a number of other people that might be getting kind of complicated, other people's energies. And it's not to say, oh my God, we need to eliminate them, but we have to understand them. And they can be cords that you have to others. They can be cords that they have to others. There's ultimately, though, something much more macro in relation to this really deep sense of belongingness with this individual. I'm seeing that with the Hangman in reverse. This can even be you with your talents in a certain industry, and you're like, why isn't it happening right now? Why? What's going on? Why isn't it taken off and getting off the ground? I see that there's a reason for that, but this is, of course, again, a general reading. The Star upright, yeah. Some of you definitely, there is something you need to clear. The Queen of Cups on the Star. This is a very strong connection, but it's not going to manifest also just because it is strong. There are factors here, and that's the reason why it's strong, is because it is so interconnected in the macro of the unity consciousness space that it relates to. So what you create with this individual, I know it might be a bit abstract, but there are, yes, but this is a high vibration, and that's what we're talking about here with the Queen of Cups and the Star. So if you're a little bit confused and not understanding, it may not be your message, take it as you will, but with the Queen of Cups and the Star, at least at this time, there are things that we realize we create that are part of a macro storyline, and that has to be understood in order for this puzzle piece to make sense, if that makes sense. There are things here that are not just related to you two that need to also move through, and it's about flow, it's about understanding, it's about unconditional love, where we don't feel like we have to have it and we need to make it work, right? That's this love story that I'm talking about here. And some of you here realize, you know who this is, you realize what it speaks to, you realize what you want to create with this individual in a really broad, broad storyline. It's about, making something of your story. And so I see this as an unconditional love connection with the Star and the Hangman with the Lovers in reverse and the Queen of Cups upright. For some of you, this may get controversial, but they may already be in a contract, or there's some contract here that might be related to this individual that is kind of making, I'm hearing that song by Taylor Swift, because I knew you were trouble when you walked in. Like, there's something here, maybe when you met them, they're already in some kind of contract. There's some factor here, okay? It's on the table, and it has been, and I feel that it still will be. It doesn't, it's not about, I'm hearing, mortalizing that. Okay, it's not about like destroying or, you know, defining what that is. It's a matter of possibly, again, understanding it. For a number of you, if you're in a space with someone who you know, this could even be something of a focus on religion. There's a mantra. It is obviously related. It needs to be unraveled, but appropriately for that person in their life and at the right time. Let's clear it. Yes. So if you feel like you have a mission with someone here and that it is something really deep and meaningful, but there is some factor here, okay, that is and has been, know that in fact this is something, let's clear it, it's something really important actually. For those of you who are like, why what's with that factor right there? Why is that one factor right there? Like, if it weren't for that one factor, or it weren't for that one situation, let's clear it. You know, it would just be, but interestingly, this is related. Yes, again, in the macro sense. So it's sort of like something that is a blessing in disguise, possibly even, or it's something that fuels a connection even. It allows you to understand and define more strongly what it is that you actually do want to create with that person. And this can even be, you know, sometimes it's like, wow, because I experienced what I feel I didn't really resonate with, that allowed me to define so much more obviously what I am in resonance with, what I'm so passionate about. And that might be, you know, you with this individual. For example, if this is actually just physical distance, maybe they've got a contract here, their work requires of them to be abroad. I'm hearing this for some. That's actually something that helps you both realize the strength and the connection. So take it as you will. I'm saying this for some. The Star and the Justice card with the Queen of Cups. Now, and again, this is not a storyline where we're talking about, oh, it's the distance of them telling me and pushing me away and telling me that it's not, you know, that's not what we're talking about, guys. We're talking about a situation, a circumstance where there, at least in this storyline, where there are two really obvious, you know, I'm hearing stories that want to speak to one another, but they're having, I'm hearing not an open-ended conversation, but an oval, I'm hearing an oval shaped conversation. I'm not sure what that's alluding to. Take it as you will. There is maybe something even political here, something controversial, something that is like, it makes sense, but not in the space and time. Interesting. It can be a past life energy. Absolutely, definitely. Let's pull on that chariot in the theme. Okay. Yeah. The Devil's in reverse, 3 of Cups on the Justice card. To me, this person is, they're on a mission. Yeah, they've got something that they're doing here. It's you know, it's in its storyline. Okay, it's in its due time. It's in its due place. This person, if it is, they're going through a massive transformation, and they may not be available yet to partake in this storyline here with you. Again, I really want to be careful with this. It's not someone, let's say, who is, you know, you're feeling like it's really like not the way it's supposed to be, but you're trying to make it better. I'm not sure what that's alluding to. Let's clear around. Yeah, if you're like, well, I don't know really who they are, and if you feel like something is absolutely like, something here is off, that's I see this more as like a story where there are two sides that realize they are, and again, openly come out and acknowledge this, that yeah, we want to do this, but the timing is off. They're involved in something here actually really important. They may be playing a role for another, and so it's about, I think, respect as well for their personal journey. Always take it as you will. Journey, we said, yeah, let's clear it around. It's about respect for their cycle and their storyline. You know, we can't force people to be where we are at, of course, right? And so it's about, you know, realizing that everything, if it is meant to be, will be. There's no forcing. So with the Devil and the Justice card, yeah. If you feel like you're on the end of, hey, I feel like I'm getting, yeah, let's clear the energy around. If you're feeling like you want to manifest something that you realize on some scale is not flowing, that's a Pluto streak. And I would look at your Pluto energies and contacts with that individual. Death in reverse, Death card upright. Some of you have a very strong connection with this person. Very strong connection with this person. This comes down definitely to past lives. There is something here that you've even, the Hermit upright. Let's clear the energy around in the heart chakra. Let's clear the heart chakra. Some of you here, there are things that you have to almost, how do we say, accept about the story. You say, hey, well, I realize that they're not ready for this, or I realize that this is not happening right now, or I realize that there's just something that, you know, but if anything, again, I feel if this is your story, and you're resonating with this, that it actually feeds the broader mantra. It feeds the broader storyline. it's actually, again, a blessing in disguise. The King of Swords upright, the Tower upright, and the Two of Wands upright. If this is you in your industry and you realize there are things that are really kind of irritating you about the space, or you feel like things are kind of, it's almost like, wow, okay, it's like the universe gave me this mountain to freaking climb, and I'm going to prove that I can climb it kind of vibe. So there's something quite exciting here. I'm hearing Leo, Virgo, you have the Fool leading you out, and the Lovers in reverse. Some of you are definitely making huge headway here when it comes to your astral storylines. Okay, it's like, wow, you know what? I'm really turning that story inside out. I'm not resonating with that anymore. And some of you realize, hey, I have clearing to do and they have clearing to do. So let's do the clearing. Let's get really sort of focused with our life purpose. I'm hearing that as well. Independently, this is for some, especially again those who are realizing needing to be patient with yourselves and others. The Page of Cups upright. For some of you, this is your audience. Maybe, yeah, and for example, maybe you got an awesome product or you have an amazing idea, but the audience isn't ready yet for it. It's like, let's clear the, or there is even not funding yet coming through. I feel like everything is divine timing. Let's jump into further. Let's clear the energy around. 1 second here. I want to pull one more card on that Queen of Cups, Page of Swords. Yeah. Some of you here have a really strong, again, 6 of Cups. Yeah, High Priestess, definitely. You guys have a history here. You've also, though, got a very strong connection to the divine. I'm hearing this. Well, let's clear it. A very strong telepathic connection. Let's get, clear the energy and ground. By the way, telepathic does not mean meant to be. So you can have a telepathic connection. You can be empathic to the toad on the side of the road. You can also be telepathic with what feels to be like your twin flame. You can be telepathic with energies that are not, formally introduced in this dimension. So it's maybe getting a little abstract, but to say it in this way, you have to decide what really you would like to connect to. Okay, and that's where you have to understand and really, well, let's clear it. Set boundaries as well around your space. I want to point that out. Okay, so let's get further. Yeah, so let's clear it. You can have a lot of soulmates. Doesn't mean that you have to be with them. Doesn't mean that they suit you in this dimension. Let's get in at this time, at this space-time junction. Let's get here 6 months ago. The Six of Pentacles upright. That was the last full moon in Virgo about 6 months ago. The Four of Swords in reverse at the current new moon in Virgo. And you lead out in about 6 months from that point at the next full moon in Virgo with the Ace of Wands upright. Some of you here have made a huge step here with your career. I'm hearing this for a large number of you. Some of you, especially, I'm seeing somebody involved in politics here, or they're doing something related to politics. You're showing people here what you believe in. I'm seeing that in a big way with the Two of Cups and the Ace of Wands. For some of you, it can be a metaphor. There's something that, but for a larger group, you're calling something out. Some of you here, if this is a project that you've even launched or a product or something, oh, wow, like Virgo, you're on another wavelength here. Ace of Pents, Page of Wands, Two of Cups, Ace of Wands. You're not messing around. Some of you here have met, there's something that you're cooking with the Two of Swords. Like, I feel you're very talented, Taurus. I'm here, Taurus, Virgo, with something here that you're a hard ass worker. I'm here that as well. You've been even meditating on something, really researching something. You're really, you know what you're talking about. You know what you're doing. This is a general video though, but there we go. Taurus right there, hard font on that Nine of Swords with the Ace of Wands. If you've launched a product, I feel that it's going to kind of really take form and shape, even if it is just as a decision to take action in relation to it in a new way, about in 6 months. So in other words, something will become more, let's say, there will be more momentum with the way that you interact with whatever this sort of project is. The World in reverse. I mean, even this newfound identity, this newfound sense of identity. Some of you have actually moved in a completely new direction with what it is that you call, your story. Again, I'm hearing your story. The Six of Cups and the Hangman again coming through for you with the Ace of Wands. Some of you could be reuniting with someone. Yeah, it's a surprise. Oh, the Empress right. Four of Wands in reverse. Yeah, I'm hearing Aries. Strength in reverse, Empress. King of Cups in reverse. Let's clear it. There's a lot of maturation here that's been taking place. Some of you, there could be two storylines. It's your career, but it's, your finances, your financial storyline, but also that which is emotional. Some of you here are actually, you're manifesting what you can say is your dream, we'll say. Empress upright, Death upright, There's something here that you have to be brave with, though, and maybe you've been quite patient. Like, you didn't settle. I'm hearing that as well. Like, oh, I could have just taken that job over there, or that storyline over there, or that apartment over there, or this house, whatever it is. This is something that you wanted. It's even a dynamic. You wanted to feel ready, to really, really ready. What is ready? You wanted to feel authentic. You wanted to feel grounded in the way that you approach this story in the next stage of it. Ace of Wands upright, leading you out. Let's clear it. Yeah, you wanted to feel, I'm hearing as well, actually maybe physically strong. There might be something that you've been even training on. Let's clear it. You've been even actually formalizing. And so thank you guys for tuning in. Welcome again to your new moon, Virgo. Very interesting energies coming through for you. Wow, it seems like you're really getting quite excited with some facet of your potential. We'll say devil in reverse in that theme. It can actually even be something that you would like to really create something with. So if it is an ability of yours, I see it as sort of you coming out in a more obvious way and presenting that. And for some of you, it is to someone. I see this as you maybe even introducing yourself. Let's clear it. Definitely there's some bravery here. Let's pull on the Ace of Wands, Three of Cups. Let's just get a few more details. The Knight of Wands and the Queen of Wands. Some of you may even introduce someone to someone. This can even be, though, an opportunity big time. This is something that you'd like to even confess. Thank you for tuning in. Love and light to you, Virgo. We'll see you in the next videos. Bye.